Deep Impact, Armageddon, Olympus Has Fallen, White House Down, Friends with Benefits, No Strings Attached, Ants, A Bug's Life. What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark, MacMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic. And there's one more that falls under the same boat as what I've listed before, the twin releases, the seemingly how could these two films possibly release opposite each other in such a short period of time and have such a similar plot? Well, there's one more, and it's part of my March Madness, where I'm reviewing movies that are good, great, or excellent that are on Netflix, is Mowgli, which had the unfortunate, it came after Disney's The Jungle Book, directed by Jon Favreau, which was a huge hit at the box office. Warner Brothers was making Mowgli with Andy Serkis, and then they, well, you know. So click like and subscribe because we're going to talk about it. So, yeah, this is a Netflix movie. Netflix bought this movie from Warner Brothers back when Warner Brothers used to sell their movies that they didn't have any confidence in, instead of burying it like Batgirl. Although I'm hearing some positive things now for Coyote versus Acme, which I guess Catch-Up Entertainment is looking to buy for $50 million. I didn't realize The Day the Earth Blew Up was doing that much money for them, but did the other streamers not have $50 million to buy Coyote versus Acme? It was, anyway. Maybe Coyote versus Acme will. But yes, Warner Brothers, the studio that has clearly lots of support for their films, well, they ended up not having a ton of faith in Mowgli, and they offloaded it to Netflix for a nice little sum. And Netflix ended up actually coming through on this movie and giving it a little bit of a theatrical run, because the film had been shot specifically for, like, with certain cameras for, like, large format. If I remember correctly, I believe this was in, like, 3D IMAX type things for, like, a 2-week run. So one of those rare Netflix attempts at getting a movie into some major theaters, sort of like what they did with Glass Onion. So this is, yeah, it has different beats to it because it doesn't have to sing songs. Like, we don't have to, it's the Jungle Book, but it's Andy Serkis's adaptation of the Jungle Book. I think Andy Serkis is a good director. I don't know that he's the best director, but I think he shows promise every time out. Anytime he steps behind a camera, I think he always shows an understanding of cinema. And here he makes a different, it feels a little bit more dangerous. It's a little bit more grown up. It doesn't have the Disney moments that the Jungle Book has. It doesn't have to hit the same beats. It doesn't have to sing songs, and nobody has to stop, and, but it's still it's hitting all the major characters that are in Rudyard Kipling's story. So that way you're still getting Shere Khan and Bagheera and Baloo, but you're in Ka, but you're getting them through a different lens, through a different a path. And that's why I like Mowgli, is because one is just a carbon copy, and the other one is actually kind of what we're looking for, which is, okay, so you have a story, you have a franchise, and you want to make a live action adaptation of it. How are you going to do it? Are you even remotely concerned about doing it slightly differently, or are you just trying to take your Disney classic and just make it live action with very little change to it, which is kind of what it feels like every single Disney live action has ever done, which is fine for some of them. I mean, I think Jon Favreau did a nice job with the Jungle Book, but it is really just kind of like the same beats as the animated cartoon. So it kind of makes you wonder, why don't I just watch the cartoon? Whereas if this had been Jon Favreau's adaptation, it would have felt different. It would have felt like a different, braver take on the story. It doesn't always work. Arguably, Mulan does that. Mulan takes some risks and makes some big changes from the cartoon to the movie, and it just doesn't work. Like, as a film, Mulan, I mean, they took a swing and it didn't work, and it's not always going to work. But clearly, I think what Andy Serkis does here, especially when Mowgli finds more humans and starts learning about human culture, and there's a hunter, and the hunter is very proud of the animals that he's captured, and Mowgli's lived among these animals. And I think just him seeing the juxtaposition, suddenly he realizes why some of the animals have been so leery of him as a human, is because of guys like this guy. You know what I'm saying? So it has a very interesting cast full of heavy hitters like Christian Bale, Cate Blanchett, Benedict Cumberbatch, Andy Serkis himself is doing voice work. Naomi Harris, Matthew Rhys is in this. Frida Pinto. I'm probably gonna forget somebody. I'm sorry, but yeah. It's got a strong voice cast slash live cast to it, and the kid who plays Mowgli does a nice job. He's a little bit, I think he's a little bit older than the kid who played Mowgli in Disney's Jungle Book. So he can have a little bit more action sequences and stuff. This was, this was something that deserved its day in the sun and did not deserve to be dumped on Netflix. It's better than that. The question is it better than the Disney movie? And it depends on what you're looking for. I think they're basically equal. If you're looking for, I mean, Disney's The Jungle Book has a lot of moments where you're looking for those songs. You're looking for Bare Necessities. You're looking for I Want to Be Like You. And Jon Favreau didn't turn those into big musical numbers. Bare Necessities is just kind of sung in a very lazily way while floating down a river, and I Want to Be Like You is sort of done almost in like a horror movie way. It's kind of creepy. I mean, that whole sequence is kind of creepy. So Jon Favreau did kind of find more organic ways of putting the songs into the movie instead of making it feel like that you had to stop and have the animals dance, So, but Andy Serkis is more interested in adventure and in story here, and he builds that up as well. So, I mean, they're two sides of the same coin. Just one doesn't have music, and one is a little bit more of a risk taker. So, I recommend the movie. I don't think everybody's that crazy about it because, oh my God, we've had a lot of Jungle Book adaptations. So the question is always, well, what are you going to bring to it? Well, what are you going to bring to it? Well, what's your new twist? What's your new angle? Do you have anything to bring to the story? And I even liked the live action Jungle Book from the 90s that we got, where he grows up and ends up coming back as an adult. Jason Scott Lee was Mowgli in that. I want to say, was Catherine Zeta-Jones in that? I think she was in that back in the day before she was famous. She was in something like that before she popped. It might have been that. And yeah, I like that version too, because it's like, well, that's a different take on a story. You know, if you're gonna do something with the Jungle Book, do something with the Jungle Book. You know, it's like Disney already made the little cartoon version that feels like the Jungle Book for kids. We don't need to keep making that version. So Andy Serkis felt like he made a live action version of Jungle Book that wasn't interested in being a musical, that was interested in being an adventure. And so that's what I think is fun about it. Is it perfect? No. I mean, like, you're always going to compare it to other versions of the Jungle Book. So it's all going to be ranking in your head as to like which version you prefer the most. Um, and you could say that it's predictable. It's like, well, yeah, because it's the Jungle Book. You know, I mean, like, it's hard to remove predictability from something that has been done to death. It's like watching, you know, like somebody would say that about the Jungle Book, but they wouldn't say that about like Greta Gerwig's Little Women. You know, like, oh my God, it's the beautiful adaptation. It's also been done like 20 times. So in itself, it's inherently predictable because it's not like Beth doesn't live. And then, like, in Greta Gerwig's Little Women, she didn't like, well, Beth lives, and oh my God, Joe dies. What a bold choice. No, it's the same Little Women. So people who are like, I don't know, feels like feels like the same. Well, then be consistent. When other people are just adapting the same story, you know. So, yeah, it's gonna hit the same beats, and they're gonna be the same characters that are in every single Jungle Book movie. Um, I liked it, so that's why it's here. Uh, I'm giving The Jungle Book a B plus. It has good audio description too, for the characters and stuff from moving through the jungle. Mowgli's action. There's a sequence where he moves into the tent, and sees sort of all of these, uh, you know, preserved animal, uh, taxidermied animals, and he's properly horrified by it. And I thought that scene was narrated really well. So that's it. That's what I got. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the other side.